All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating piece of source material. It's a deceptively simple fable, but I promise you, it packs a massive punch when it comes to understanding human behavior. We're going to explore how a bizarre, hyper-specific personal disaster can completely warp the way we view the rest of the world. It's funny, it's a bit tragic, and honestly, it's deeply revealing.
So, have you ever assumed a stranger's bad day was exactly like yours? Think about that for a second. We all kind of have this tendency to project our own recent experiences onto the people around us, right? Like if you just spilled coffee all over your shirt, suddenly it feels like everyone is staring at the stain. Or you start noticing every single person who looks even slightly disheveled. Well, the text we're looking at today explores this exact psychological quirk through a brilliantly absurd story. Let's set the stage here. Once upon a time,
Section 1. The Pride and the Fruit.
Okay, let's dive right into this. To really understand the psychology at play here, we first need to meet our protagonist. Our story begins with a man who has one defining characteristic. He takes immense, totally unshakable pride in his long, beautiful hair. The source text actually makes a point to highlight this right off the bat. This isn't just a guy with a nice haircut, okay? His long hair is his absolute pride and joy. It's his entire identity. As we go through this explainer, I want you to keep that vanity in the back of your mind because, well, the higher the unearned pride, the much harder the fall is going to be.
And enter his ultimate nemesis. One day, our proud protagonist sits down to eat a ripe jackfruit. Now, if you aren't familiar with it, the text describes the jackfruit perfectly. It's a deliciously sweet fruit, but it is famously sticky in texture. The sap inside a jackfruit is incredibly adhesive. It's thick, it's unyielding, and it just clings to absolutely everything it touches. It is literally the exact opposite of smooth, flowing, beautiful hair. So you can probably start to see where this is going.
Section 2. The inevitable tangled fall. Let's look at how quickly an everyday mistake just totally spirals into devastation. The progression of his downfall happens so fast. Step 1, he's sitting there with his unearned pride. Step 2, he's just enjoying this deliciously sweet jackfruit. But then comes step 3, the absent-minded touch. While eating, his fingers are completely covered in this thick, adhesive jackfruit sap. And without even thinking, he reaches up and touches his prized long hair. By the time he realizes what he's actually done, it's a complete disaster. The text notes that his hair is tangled and matted completely beyond repair. He tries everything to clean it, desperately attempting to salvage his pride, but nothing works. The sap won. Which brings us to the very tragic step 4. He has absolutely no choice but to shave it all off. Our incredibly vain protagonist is left completely bald. So his entire world has been turned upside down. He's lost his prized possession. Let's fast forward just a few days later. He's walking down the street, freshly bald, and undoubtedly still reeling from the trauma of the whole jackfruit incident. And as he's walking, he spots someone coming the other way. Another bald man.
Now, this is where the story shifts from a personal tragedy into an absolute comedic masterpiece of human behavior. He walks right up to this complete stranger, and the text specifically says he approaches him with a mischievous smile. He looks at this naturally bald man and asks, "Hey, did you eat jackfruit recently?" He genuinely assumes that the absolutely only possible explanation for this stranger's baldness is that he too fell victim to a highly adhesive tropical fruit accident. No way around it in his mind. Section 3, the sticky mirror effect.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core concept we really need to pull from this text, a phenomenon we'll call the sticky mirror of shared misfortune. Basically, this occurs when you experience a highly specific, embarrassing loss and then immediately assume others share your exact fate. Because our protagonist just went through this traumatic, super specific jackfruit-related disaster, his brain now views the entire world through that exact same lens. He just cannot separate his hyper-specific mistake from the general reality of the people around him. His trauma has essentially become his mirror. In psychology, this aligns perfectly with cognitive biases like the false consensus effect and projection bias. Our deeply ingrained tendency to overestimate how much other people share our current specific beliefs, behaviors, or in this very weird case, bizarre, fruity misfortunes.
Now, what's really interesting to see here is the sheer logical leap our protagonist makes. On one side, we have his reality. He's bald because of a freak, truly bizarre accident involving sticky fruit sap.
But on the other side, we have the stranger's reality, which is that he's almost certainly just naturally bald. Millions of people are naturally bald. But the protagonist is so entirely trapped in his own recent experience that he skips over the most logical, everyday explanation and jumps straight to the most absurd, statistically improbable scenario. Why? Simply because it happened to him.
To quickly summarize how his mind played tricks on him, we can look at three key factors. First off, he was completely fixated on his recent embarrassment. The jackfruit incident was literally all he could think about. Second, because of that intense fixation, he completely ignored logical alternatives. He ignored genetics, he ignored aging, or even just, a normal haircut. And finally, he projected a highly specific flaw, his own clumsy mistake with sticky sap, onto a total stranger. He assumed his unique misfortune was just the universal baseline for everyone else.
Which really brings us to the final and definitely most important takeaway from this explainer. The story is funny because it's so incredibly absurd, but the underlying psychology is something every single one of us does. When we suffer a setback or make a uniquely embarrassing mistake, we tend to project that onto the world around us. So I want to leave you with this thought. What's the jackfruit you're projecting onto others? What recent failure or hidden bias is secretly warping the way you see the strangers you walk past every single day? It's a sticky question for sure, but figuring it out might just help you see the world and the people in it a little more clearly. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.